Hi, everyone. Welcome, and welcome to FBI. I'm just kidding. Free BI courses. So I shorten it to FBI. I hope you can hear me. And somebody chat back if you can hear me okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. All right. This is a good way to start the weekend. Let's spend 2 quality hours just to go over one powerful data tool called Power BI. And the reason it is powerful, there are many reasons it is powerful. One of them is it almost has a built-in ETL tool within Power BI. So that means if the data is dirty and not ready for analysis, and there's a way you can clean it up within Power BI. But it has its limitation. If the data is too dirty and too big, probably you should clean it outside of Power BI. But that's another topic. And there are other things that make Power BI powerful. If you open the hood, you will also see the data modeling feature. And it's extremely powerful that you can, structure and organize data into a data model within Power BI. And if you do it right, that will make the visualization part a whole lot easier. And I hear some people say the visualization tools such as Tableau or Power BI are really, really easy because it doesn't require any coding experience. You can just drag and drop. That is not true. And I can tell you that behind Power BI and behind visualization, you actually need a very strong background in data structure or database design, or let's use the fancy words, data architecture. So today, we will spend a bit of time cleaning the data. That sounds boring, but I tell you, you will see why Power BI is called Power BI, because the ETL feature is actually amazing. Now we have almost 35 people. It's a good turnout. So this material, we actually have 2 cases today, and one is called family, and the second one is called Mexican grill. It's actually mucho burrito, but I don't want to use the real company name. And it's something we got way back, so it's very old data, but the demo is meaningful. So I'm going to call this case Mexican grill. And there is something in WeCloudData that is called pre-camp training. So what happened is before the bootcamp starts, TAs meet every student one-on-one, and we want to make sure we know the circumstance and background and skill level of every student. And if we assess any weakness or sometimes we have students with zero background in coding or who has never used one tool before. And pre-camp is a good opportunity that we use to get every single student warmed up with every single data tool. So when the real training, the bootcamp starts, nobody is zero and everybody is ready to go. So that actually reduces the pressure, of the bootcamp instructors. So I'm pretty sure the instructors of fundamental skills will be able to finish the fundamental. Maybe they will have the opportunity to teach something more advanced. So that in turn also flatten out the learning curve, make the whole learning experience a lot more effective. So with that being said, now with WeCloudOpen, we open source, the pre-camp training material to the public. And today is just one of the sessions, one of the series that we use to show you how to use some data tools. And if you follow us, and you will be able to learn a lot. Of course, this is only the tip of the iceberg compared to the real bootcamp. So let's start with the family case. So you see in this project folder, we have two files. So one of them is an Excel, and the other one is Power BI. So we're going to open the PBIX file. So if you want to do it with me, be my guest. Otherwise, you can just sit back and watch 2 hours. And later on, in a quiet place, you could always try to reproduce the whole project. You can follow your own pace. Let me just maximize this. So this is basically Power BI desktop. So on your left hand, you see 3 icons: report and data and model. So you have report view, data view, and model view. So on the right hand side, you see visualization and data field. And today, for the first case, we will finish everything in a different window. So I'm going to click transform data and then transform data here. All right. So I just want to show you 2 little things, and that's a really good practice. And I always use the parameter. So if you click the blank, yes.
Sadhana is asking if you can share the file so that she can follow along.
Yeah, so we actually already shared the files in Discord. So if you need it, if you don't have access to Discord, I can upload the file to chat so everybody can download it. It's not a big one, so I think we're okay. Let me see. It actually doesn't allow me to upload the file to chat. I wonder if Shawa can help me, because I have a zip file in Discord. Shawa, if you could try download it from Discord and upload to chat.
Okay, I'll try to do that.
Okay, thank you. So I will continue with this. So you see that this is called Power Query Editor. So I'm going to maximize this window. So I just want to show you 2 things. On the left-hand side, you see we have a query section, and now you have 12 queries. In fact, only 10, and plus 2 parameters. I just want to show you why we have these 2 parameters. And if you right-click, you can actually see new parameter, and this is how you create a parameter. But if I open manage parameter, you see 2. One of them is pass, and the other one is file. Okay. So what happened is, if you move the source file, and you just need to change the path, and then every broken link will be fixed. So over here, you see this is my path. If I go to the File Explorer, you see this is my path. So I simply, click this and Control-C and come back to Power BI and paste it over here, and plus a backslash. And then this is the source file. It's called family.xlsx. Just 2 little things I want you to remember. And this is really good practice, and it can save you a lot of time. Okay. So today I'm going to take you through 5 little queries just to learn the data structure. And the people who took my info session before, you remember I just kept saying it is very easy, very simple. Just remember dimensions and measures. And I even told you dimensions are blue and measures are green. So with that, I'm not going to, mess up with the queries. So what I can do, and I encourage you to do the same, and I will right-click this and create a duplicate. So you see, I have a duplicate query over here. It says wide 1 to long 1, 2. So I click this and I go to the right. So this is something called applied steps. So it is a very powerful tool. So Power BI is able to follow every step you take and automatically document it. So what I will do is I will delete 5 steps. Okay, so I'm going to repeat the 5 steps to show you what I meant by data structure. So over here, I want you to take a close look at this table. So it doesn't look like a table, but if you, let me just do something. If I uncheck this, uncheck this, uncheck this, I think it's easier to see. All right. So this looks like a table in Excel, right? So first and foremost, I want you to develop a natural curiosity whenever you see a new data set. And this is an extremely simple data set, but even though it's simple, it's not easy for you to completely understand it. So remember, whenever you see a new data set, and try to think, what is the dimension and what is the measure? Okay, so if you look at this first column, it says FAM ID, FAM ID, and then you see 3 values, 1, 2, and 3. And then across, you see FAM Inc, FAMINC. It's the same prefix, FAMINC, 96, 97, and 98. So what is the dimension and what is the measure? So dimension, remember I said dimension most of the time is one of the 5W and 1H. No, 5W, 1H is who, what, where, when, why, and how. So dimension is one of them. So if you look at family ID, so this is fam ID, it's actually family ID. So family ID is the who, right? Family ID. We have 3 families, 1 and 2 and 3. And if you look across, the second dimension that you can guess is actually the year. It's 96, 97, and 98. Yeah, that's when. So we have who, family ID, and we have when, 96, 97, 98. And then we have one, measure. So measure is usually numeric. Measure is usually a number. And in this case, you see all the numbers over here. They are family income. So family income is the measure. So what? Two dimension. Family ID is 1 dimension, and year is the 2nd dimension. And we have 1 measure, family income. So now, this may look quite normal to you, but today I really want to train you to think like computer. So to computers, this is really, really bad. It's very, very bad data. and I will explain why it's bad. Just remember a simple rule. So I think let's just talk about good data structure, and then we will understand the opposite of it is bad data structure. Okay, so a good data structure follows the rule: every dimension has its own column and only one column, and every measure has its own column and only one column. So if you look at this data, it's bad because the second dimension year, you'll find it as part of the column header. And it's in 3 columns, this, and this. That's bad. And you also find the measure family income in 3 columns. That's bad too. So now, with Power Query Editor, you are able to transform this data and as part of the cleaning. So what you need to do is right-click Family ID, and if you go down, all the way down, and you will see Unpivot. So I already select Family ID, then I can just click Unpivot Other column, or alternatively, you can select these 3 columns, and then you click Unpivot column. So this is easier. I'm going to just select this one and click Unpivot Other columns. Right away, we change the shape of this data. So now you can just click this column called Attributes, and you're going to split, the value of attribute, and you right-click it and go down to Split Column. So there are different ways to split the column. We're going to use by number of characters. So go to the right and click by number of characters. So you can see, all of these have the year in last 2 digits. So we can just type 2 characters and we count from the right. So 2 characters from the right. So I can just check once as far right as possible and then click OK. So you see that I split this column into 2. So now I can just double click attribute 2 and I change this column header into year. And I know this value is the measure. I'm going to just use the measure name that is family income. So FAMINC. You see that I follow the naming convention. So now that I have captured family income as the column header, I can just select this and remove. So now you see the data after cleaning. And if I go back to the original state, so this is the beauty of Power BI. You can just play back, and every step you can just restore the state in that step. So you can see the data before and after. So now let's check the data to see if it followed the simple rule. Remember, what's considered good data structure is every column, every dimension has its own column and only one column, and every measure has its own column and only one column. So you see that we have 2 dimensions, family ID and year, and each one of them has their own column. And the only measure is family income. It also has its own column. And I don't know if you start to follow, the pattern. So if you feel this is new to you, that's okay. So we're going to do a few more just to reinforce the impression, what is considered good data structure. So if you follow me, let's go to white 2 to long 2. Why we call this a white too long? That's because in a moment you will see, and the bad shape of the data is actually very white, and the good shape of the data is long, is narrow and long. So once again, we can just create duplicates so we don't have to mess with the original query. But in the new query, we can delete the last 5 steps. So we will demo the bad data before, and I will take you through, how can we transform the data to be good. So now, if we once again look at this data and think, what is the dimension and what is the measure? And I think most of you will realize, yeah, we still have family ID, with 3 values, 3 families, 1, 2, and 3. And we still have, well, the year is 96, 97, and 98. But somehow we have 2 measures, family income and spend, right? So let me recap. So we have 2 dimensions, family ID and year. And we have 2 measures, family income and spend. So how do we clean this? We follow the same procedure. So I select family ID and I right click it and I go down to pivot other columns. Boom. So now I can select just attribute and I right click and I go down to split column. And once again, by number of characters and 2 characters from the right. Why 2? Because the last 2 digit is actually the year. So I choose once as far right as possible and click OK. Now, there's one thing that's different from the first example. The first example had only 1 measure. Now we have 2. So you can see family income and spend. In fact, family income and spend are the headers of the 2 measures. So if you look at the values, some of them are family income and some of them are spend. And it's all here. So what can we do now? So we just did pivot, and now we have to do pivot. So first we did pivot, and now we have to do pivot. So if you right click over here, you don't see pivot. So the pivot is actually under transform. So if you click transform, you will see pivot column here. So now if you click pivot column, so let's read this. This is very important. It says pivot column. It says use the names in column attribute.1, use the names, family income and spend to create new columns. That is correct. So we can create 2 columns. One of them is family income and the other one is spend. Now, this box asks you where the values come from. The values will not come from family ID. If you click this box, the values actually come from value. So you should select value. So with that, you can just click OK, boom. This worked like magic, right? Because you see the 2 headers already, on top of the right value. So the only thing you need to do is double click attribute.2 and change this to lowercase year. And that's it. So now, if we check this data structure to see if they follow the rule, they do follow the rule. Remember, we have 2 dimensions, family ID and year, and each dimension has its own column and only 1 column. And we have 2 measures, family income and spend. And each measure has its own column and only one column. I think you start to see the pattern, right? So with that, I'm going to introduce some more complex examples. Let's go to wide 3 to long 3. Let's create a duplicate. So let's go to the duplicate, and once again, let's delete the 5 last steps. Just so we can start with the bad data structure. Then folks, I want to tell you that this structure is identical to the first one. It's exactly the same. In fact, the steps will be taken are exactly the same as what we did in the first example. But the only difference is we used to have only 3 families, and now we have 50 families, right? So we have 50 families. And in the first example, we had only 3 years, 96, 97, 98. And now we have from 90 to 95, we have 6 years. So we have 50 families and 6 years, 50 by 6. So we have 300 data points. So we have a lot more data points, but the logic is exactly the same. So in future, when you see something like this, I mean, the structure, the data structure is similar. And I want you to remember, hey, Eric taught me family, and I think this is very similar to one of the examples. So you can just, go to the Power BI file and dig it up, and then you will see how you handle the simple case. But if it's the same or similar data structure, you can just go through the same steps, and you will be able to transform the bad data into good data, right? So with that said, let's just repeat the process so we get more familiar with the process. So you right-click ID, and you go to unpivot other columns. Boom. So then you click this column attribute, and you go down to split columns and by number of characters. And then once again, 2 characters from the right. So you type 2, once as far right as possible, you click OK. And now it's a good time to rename attribute number 2. And this is lowercase year. And this value and all of it is income. So let's type INC, and this becomes useless. So you can just select and remove. You see, we clean the data, 2 dimensions and 1 measure. And I hope you follow me. Now, I'm going to introduce a tricky case. It's quite tricky. Let's go to number 4. And once again, let's create a duplicate. All right. So let's delete 5 steps, delete 5 last steps, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 5. So now we see the bad data. So it's a lot wider. And once again, when you see this data the first time, I want you to think, what are the dimensions? What are the measures? So what are the dimensions? You have family ID, 3 family. What are the measure? Oh, sorry, there's another dimension. It's year, right? 96, 97, 98. And then what is the measure? We actually have 3 measures: family income, spend, and debt. Debt 96, 97, 98. This is new. And you see, you don't see numbers here. You see Boolean value. So yes or no, or true or false. It's Boolean, right? How can we handle this? Now we have to learn how to handle different data types. So let me just show you. Now you select only family ID and right click, and then you go down and unpivot other columns. So now you see that we have the column names, actually the measures name, family income, and spend and debt as part of this attribute. So we'll need to click this column again, and let's split column by number of characters. So once again, 2 characters from the right. See that? Okay, so I think we need to do pivot again because we have more than 1 measure. We have 3 measures in this case. So we'll go to transform and click pivot column. Okay, and we need to be really careful over here. So let's make sure we get it right. So this one says use the names in column attribute.1. Use the names in attribute.1 to create new columns. That is correct. And then where the values come from? What is the values column? It should be value, right? Is that all? Let's try it. Let's just click OK and see what happens. So I click OK, and then you look, family income, spend, and debt. But the values are all wrong. You see? You see 1 in every cell. So that's not right. So the good thing with Power BI is you could always go back. So you can trace. So this is the last step. So I just go to the last step. Now you don't have to delete this one. In fact, this is where you need to debug. You need to learn. So what you should do is click the gear on the right. Just click it. And this will bring you to the last step. So there's 1 step that we missed. It's called advanced option. So if I click open this, you see aggregate value function. So the value column has been aggregated. So in this case, you see count. You see count. And why you only see count? Oh, that's because family income and spend are numeric, but debt is not numeric. Debt is tax, is stream, right? So you only see count available, not sum, not average. But count is wrong, right? Because you only see 1 occurrence or 1 cell. And when you count that value, it always returns 1. So what is the right way to do this? You simply shouldn't aggregate. You shouldn't do any aggregation. So if I choose don't aggregate and then click OK, this time it's correct. So you see family income, spend, and debt. They all have the correct values. Okay, so I hope you are with me. So this case is a little tricky. And the only thing that is different is, or something new for you to learn, is how to handle the Boolean data type. So now the only change you need to make is double click and change it to year. All right, so let's check if this new data structure follow the rule. So how many dimensions, how many measures? We have 2 dimensions, family income and year, the who and when. So each dimension has its own column and only 1 column. And we have 3 measures, family income and spend. So this is cash in, this is cash out. And this tells you if the family actually has any debt, like mortgage or credit card debt. Okay, so this is good. We have 1 last example I want to take you through. And once again, the last example is also very tricky. And it looks simple, but it's tricky. Okay, so what we can do is let's create a duplicate. So let's go to the duplicate. And once again, let's delete the last 5 steps. All right. So if you look at this data structure, it looks strange somehow. And family ID, it's something you saw before. 3 families, 1, 2, and 3. So then you see name, not just name D. I'm not sure what that is. So you can guess. So name D is Bill, Art, and Paul. And then you see income. And it's not just income, it's INCD. So you always have a suffix D. So this is 30,000, 22,000, 25,000. And then you see name again. And this is name N. And then you see Bess and Amy and Patricia. I think some of you probably guessed it. And then you see income, income M. 15,000, 18,000, and 50,000. Let me guess. Some of you have guessed it. So let me just tell you the answer. D represent dad and M represent mom. So this is dad's name, and this is dad's income, and this is mom's name, and this is mom's income. So it's double income. So every family, has two parents working. And once again, this is bad, because the very important information, dad and mom, is hidden in the column header, right? And you also see name in 2 columns, and you see income in 2 columns. This is just bad. And once again, what we need to do is to transform this data structure from white to long. So let's just follow the procedure. So right-click Family ID, and go down to Unpivot Auto Columns, all right? And select only attribute. Let me just get somebody in. All right, so let's just select attribute and right-click and split column by number of characters. And so this time is 1 character from the right, just 1, from as far right as possible. Just do it once. All right. So now we have 2 columns. So this capture mom and dad, and this is the column that contains the name of 2 measures. Oh, one of them is a measure, the other one is actually a dimension. Okay, so as you guessed, we need to do, yes, so we need to do pivot again. So let's go click pivot column. And remember, we need to click open this guy. And we need to select don't aggregate. So let's check. Use the names in column attribute.1. Use these 2 names, name, income, to name the new columns. That's correct. And the values come from value column. And don't aggregate. All right. And click OK. This is correct now. So you see, this is income and this is name. And we only need to rename attribute.2. So what is mom and dad? And some of you may think, oh, this is the row, different row within the family. So I can just name this row. Or you can name it parent. But I think you will realize this is dimension, this is also dimension, and this is dimension as well. Why? So I told you before, and dimensions are usually 5W and 1H. So this just the same dimension, could be the same dimension. It's who, this is the row, this is the name. Maybe, different level of the same hierarchy. And only 1 measure. I hope all of you are with me so far. So this is really good exercise. It looks very simple, but you bet in future you will come across the same problem over and over again. And just one best way for you to understand a topic is to use very simple data, but to understand a complex or maybe a big topic. So I just repeated, the first 5 queries. I don't have to save them. So what I can do is I select the first one, I press Shift, and I select the last one I created, and then I can right click and delete them. All right. I did make a change with this. So I'm going to close this guy. Let me just come back to this and apply the changes. So we didn't do any visualization, and this entire case is to teach you data structures. So I'm going to save this and then close. All right. So now let me just check the time, and we actually use 40 minutes. Oh my God. So hopefully we have enough time to work with a more complex example, which is Mexican grill. Okay, so I want to show you the source data first, and then we can open a blank Power BI and to work it through. Okay, so let me just check the question. I guess some of you are still struggling. Enter directly to Power Query Editor. Okay, so MJet. So let me just open a new Power BI. Let me open a new one. So this is a brand new Power BI. How do you go to? There are several ways that you can go to. I always click transform data and then transform data. Or if you know the data source, you can just click one of these, right? So if it's SQL Server, you click the, and if it's what is this? And you can click get data, and then you can pick different sources. All right. All right. You change your question. Yeah, I mean, how did we enter there in our example, the family one? Oh, once again, you just click transform data and you will be in Power Query Editor. All right. All right. So let's go to our second example. I want you to open Mexican grill. So let me just open it. All right. So you see, this is the instruction and this is the data. All right. So let's read the instruction. Oh, this is way back. It's May 2017, and the company was hiring a data analyst. I changed this. Let me just change this to data analyst. I think there's one thing over here. All right. So I just simplify this data. There's only one. So it's actually February 1st to April 30. Okay. So with that, just follow me. You will be able to see the data. But I think it's worthwhile for us to read the question before we see the data. So then when we look at the data, I think we already have something in mind. We know what we're looking for. Okay. And once again, last Friday, so a week ago and 2 weeks ago, I just kept saying, whenever you get a business question, let's try to form a habit of, breaking down. Let's break down the question into dimensions and measure. So if you walk away and forget everything I said, I hope you can remember dimension and measure. That is just so fundamental. Okay, so if we look at the first question, So the first question says provide, yeah, here. The first question says provide a monthly summary of sales / traffic for each store. So what is dimension and what is measure? I hope you're with me. So I see month is one dimension. So this is one, right? I also see store is the second dimension. And then I see sales is measure, the first measure. I also see traffic as the second measure. So 2 dimensions, 2 measures. 2 dimensions, month and store. So this is when and this is where. And 2 measures, sales and traffic. So when you open a restaurant, what you really care about is traffic, right? How many people come in and out? And you want to have big traffic, coming in and out. And then the second measure is sales. How much can you sell in a day, in a month, in a year, right? And over here, it tells you which column to look for. It says, look for indirect sales as sales. Also, we will remember that, okay? Now, let's look at the second question. Once again, we break it down. Provide a week-over-week traffic trend, week-over-week traffic trend chart. So I think some of you are guessing, what chart can we use? Maybe we can use a 9 chart. And the first one you can use bar chart, column chart, And the second one, we can use 9 chart. And what is dimension and what is measure? Week over week. So week is a dimension for sure. Do we have other dimension for Alberta and Quebec region? So Alberta and Quebec are provinces. So the second dimension is province. And it mentions Alberta and Quebec. So that means you probably need to do some filtering. All right. So recap. The second question, you have 2 dimensions, 1 measure. 2 dimensions, week and province. 1 measure is traffic. And it also tells you which column you should look for traffic. And over here, it says number of transactions. So we can use number of transactions, or we can call it something different. We can call it order, number of orders or traffic, same thing. It's just number. But sales is dollar amount, right? And if you think this further, if you divide the sales by the number of transactions, then you get how much you sell in each transaction. How much on average people spend, with 1 order. And that's also a good measure. It's a good KPI, yeah. So what about the third question? So let's read it. Provide a 7-day traffic analysis for Ontario store. Wow, several things. And if you cool down and try to break down the question into dimensions and measures, right away you will have clarity. So Monday through Sunday, so that's weekday, right? The day of the week. And the second question is a week of the year. This is probably a week of the year. So how many of you think this way? Every year has 52 weeks. So starting from week 1 all the way to week 52. So this is day of the week. So all the way from Monday to Sunday, and sometimes you start from Sunday to Saturday. Is it? Yeah, Sunday to Saturday. Yeah. So I think it's easier Monday to Sunday, and let's say Monday is 1 and Sunday is 7. We can do that. So this is 1 dimension, weekday, and the second dimension is what? Is province. And there is also the third dimension, store. So 3 dimensions. one measure, which is traffic. Are you with me so far? Okay, so let me see if we have any question. When you first load data to Power BI, you get the open to load or transform and transform. Oh, thank you, Carrie. I think you're trying to answer a question for me. Yeah, very good. Thank you, Carrie. Okay, so with this in mind, let's go and check the raw data. Oh, let me, this might be too small. Let me just make it 100%. So it's easier for you to see. Okay, so let's start from top down and from left to the right. So over here, you see A1, it's a store audit report. So that may be the name of the report, store audit report. So A2, it says Mexican grill. I made this up. So this is the name of the company, or it is the brand. And the third row, and you see in A3, it says MG. So MG stands for Mexican Grill. And then you see MG0001. So this sounds like the store name, right? And some of you, if you live in Mississauga, you know where Dixie is. So if you live in, Dixie Road, you know, it's very close to the airport. So you know that location. So this A3 contains the store. And if you pay attention, this B3 contains the province. So it says ON, that stands for Ontario. So this is important information. Somehow we need to capture these two dimensions. So if you go further down to A4, so this simply tells you the date range. So it's from February the 1st to April the 30th. So February, March, April, 3 months worth of data. All right. Okay, so go further down in row 7. This entire row is actually the header row. So if you look to the right, so I think now is a good time for you to look for indirect sales and number of transactions. So these are the two you need, right? And these are the two measures. So other than that, you can go to row 8. So this is the first day, February 1st. It's a Wednesday. And then if you look across, let's just look at these two numbers, indirect sales and transactions. So this is sales and this is traffic. Okay, so if some of you are interested in opening a restaurant, or Mexican Grill is a franchise. So if you really want to invest in a franchise store and become a store owner, there are things you really care about. So you want to say, I'm going to invest this much money. You know, how much can I make? You know, for instance, in a day, how many orders I can receive. So in this case, and for this store, and on this day, and you had 63 transactions, so 63 orders. All right, and that represent $802.02. So if you look at this average, so this is probably the sales divided by traffic, and this tells you the sales per order. So how much on average each transaction generates. So if you go down, you will see 12, 14, and this is great, it's 22 and 19, right? And sometimes you could have big family may come in, it's a big order, and then that will increase the average. So with that, I think you start to have some idea, you know, what kind of business and this is. So with that, let's go down. Remember, we'll have 3 months worth of data. Let's just go down all the way to 996. you see, that's almost the end of the data. And then you have this total row, right? And then you see something familiar. So you start to repeat a store audit report, Mexican Grill, and then you see MG0002, and it's a different location, and it's in Ontario. So the format, I know the data is messy, but you know, it's just on this one sheet, and you have many tables, and each one is from a store, right? And of course, this is a much simplified example. In reality, you know, if you Google this, you will find this franchise has close to 200 stores. Wow, 200. And then let's say it's not just 3 months worth of data, it's the whole year. So 12 months, or it could be, you know, the last 5 years. I mean, this whole page could have a lot more data, but what I'm going to teach you, you know, you use Power BI, and you can clean this data very, very easily. And it doesn't matter how many stores, and it doesn't matter how many months, and the same process, the same steps will be able to deal with this messy data and give you a very clean data to work with. So with that, I'm going to close this Excel, and I will not save on this. And I hope every one of you still have the fresh memory. So now this is an open blank Power BI file. I'm going to right away save it. So I'm going to just put something like practice. Oh. Okay, if I go here and practice. And click save. And once again, I always click transform data. And let's go to Power Query Editor first. And then we decide, you know, what kind of data source we want to bring, right? And remember, it's always a good practice for you to create 2 parameters. The first parameter I use paths. And I want to get the paths from the File Explorer. So what you need to do is go inside this name box. And then you see the path. Control C and come back. And then you put in this current value. And don't forget to put 1 additional backslash, because after this, you will have the file name. And then you click OK. So this is the first parameter. Let's do this second one, new parameter. And this guy, let's name it file. And once again, go back to here. And I want you to gently click this file. And then you can copy the name of the whole file. Just go back to Power BI and paste it here. And then that's it. Okay, so what you can do now is right click the blank area below queries and new query. It's an Excel. So if you know the data source, the type of the data source, and then you know which one to click. All right. So this is our source data. Let's open it. You should see 2 tabs. So the raw data is in the second tab. So let's just click this one. You know, this Excel has only 1 tab, but some Excel, or if you have a whole database, you could have 20 tables. So it's very important to, you know, use the paths file. How do you use it? You can just right click on this new query, just create. You know, let me just make this simple. Let's just, you know what, leave it. And let's right click and go to Advanced Editor. So what you can do is go to the source and you click everything red. and then you type pass. Oops, didn't go. Let me just do it one more time. So you type pass, and then ampersand info, and that's it. And then you can click done. So this will be valid. So next time if you move the file, you just need to change the path, and everything will be all right. So how do we clean this mess? Oh, first, Power BI is always trying to be helpful, but sometimes, you know, it doesn't do anything, and that is helpful. So these two last steps are actually wrong. So I want you to delete them. So let's start from the beginning, right from the beginning. So it's always better to simplify the data. And remember, what you really need is this column, because this column has the store. It also has the date. You also need column 2 because this column contains Ontario, the province. And then you need column 7. It includes indirect sales. And column 8, it includes number of transactions, which is the traffic. So what you can do is just go straight to choose column and click this one. Choose column. Remember what we need. First, uncheck every column, and then you check column 1, 2, 7, and 8. Right, so it's a lot easier, right? It make you feel easier. So now, first and foremost, before we deal with the table, we need to capture these two guys, you know, the store and the province. So within Power BI, it's very convenient, and different people have different approach. You can always go to the menu, the ribbon, but I always like to click, just go above the line number and click the down arrow, because a lot of the features are found here, okay? So in this case, I want you to click add a conditional column. So just follow me. And the first condition is if column 1 is blank, if the value is null, right? If the value is null, and then the new column will also be null. So let's do that. And let's add another clause. If column 1 begins with MG, so Mexican grill in short, you know, if it begins with MG, I'm going to take this value from column 1. So what you need to do is click this guy, and instead of enter a value, you click select a column. So you select column 1, and then else return null. Okay, so let's check if this is what we want. So this is the new column. I'm not in a hurry to name this because we're going to delete this anyway. Delete these rows. But this captured this store name, right? If I go down to the second store, and this captured the store name. The third store, it captured the store name, right? So let's do the same to capture the province. So what you need to do, let's just go above the line number 1, 2, 3, and do another conditional column. So you see, Power BI just keep increment the number to make it a different name. So once again, if column 1 equals null, I'm going to return null. And add a clause. If column 1 begins with Mexican grill, so MG, sorry. And then in this case, I want Ontario, so that's actually column 2. So you can select a column, and this should be column 2. So Otherwise, you return null. So let's just check the value. This is correct. Let's go down, second store, further down. And you should have other province if you do this. Load more. You can see that I capture other province as well. Let's click cancel. All right. So after this, we capture the store and the province. So what we can do now is we select these two columns and we'll do something magical. So you can just right click. So one thing is go above line number 1, 2, 3 and click the down arrow, and the other one is right click. You will also see many features. So what you need to do is go to fill and fill down. I will explain this in a moment. See, this is amazing. So what this does is it repeats the value, repeat the two values until you see a different value. You see? So that way you create the two new columns, and this column, hey, remember, every dimension has its own column and only one column. So this is store and this is province, right? So once we have this, we can delete the rows that we don't need. We have all the right columns, and now we deal with the columns, the rows we don't need. So what we need to do first, we don't want row 1 to row 6. Okay, so what you can do is go above line 1, 2, 3 and go down to remove 12 rows. You can remove bottom rows. So in this case, we remove 12 rows. How many? 6. And click OK. There we go. So now this new row, new first row, is actually the header row. So what you can do is just click the down arrow and click use first row as header. There we go. So now let's look at all the columns. I want to tell you this column now becomes useless. We used to have it because the province value is actually in this column, but now that we captured the province, we don't need this anymore. So it's very simple, just right click and remove. All right. Some of you see a little something like this, right? So let me just go to view, and I suggest you check the box, that start with column. Check all these, and then you will know what that is. So this little thing tells you it's empty, because we have some empty values over here. So of course, because let me just bring this down. And there's the other thing you can do. If this is not too much data, you can click this. Instead of showing top 1,000 rows, you can show the entire data set. But if the table is too big, it's going to take more time. So now you see the total rows. But of course, some of these rows are bad. You want to remove them. So let's see which other rows we don't need. Go down, go down. Between two tables, you see things like that. All of these from 90 to 99, including the header, you don't need, right? So it's hard to really filter all of these. The easier way is to see which rows we need. I think all of you remember this is for 2017, and I think you could always begin with 2017, but then you also have another row. This also begins with 2017, but this is a dash and this is a /. So we can use 2017 dash. Okay, so what you can do is click the filter and go to text filters, and what you can do is begins with. Okay, So begin with, and over here, just type 2017 dash or hyphen, and then you click OK. Boom. So now you see there is no data quality issues. And if you go down, every row is correct. And if you click any of this, you will see the total number of rows, the count of the rows is 1,342. Okay, so now is a good time to do what? We can rename all these columns. No, before you do that, in fact, if you look at the first column, it's more than just date. It's a date and then space and then the weekday. So what you need to do is right click. I think you know what to do. Split the column. And in this case, we're going to use by delimiter. And you know the delimiter is space. All right. Doesn't matter. There's only one space. You can click any of these, right? So you click OK. Then you have two separate columns. So now is a good time to rename. So this is what? So this is date. And this is just double click. And this is weekday. And what is this? So instead of indirect sales, let's just call it sale. Oops. What is this? You can call it traffic. Let's call it traffic. All right. What is this? This is store, all the good dimensions, and this is dimension. This dimension is provenance. Okay. But with this is not done. In fact, you see, every single time I did something, Power BI is trying to be smart and trying to help me. But actually, we don't want to change type. Let's just delete this one. And let's see if this will break. No, it doesn't break. Let's delete this one as well. So after we clean all the data, then we will change data type after all is done. All right. So with this, I am going to create two more. Remember, we need week of the year and day of the week. And we already have weekday, but I want to have the weekday number. And I tell you why, okay, when we start doing the visualization. So we want to get the right number from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all the way to Sunday. But it doesn't work if you sort it alphabetically. So let's do that. So instead of, we use conditional column before, but this time we are going to use custom column. So I'm going to change this to what? The week. It's a week of the year. Let's go after the equal sign. So if you type, it's case sensitive, so you need to type, this is the date format, so just date dot. And then week of, in fact, you need to be really careful, even of, you need to uppercase up, O, and then of, week of year. So week of year, open bracket, and you can just double click date and close it, and then click OK. You see there's an error. So let's check why we have this problem. That's because this date, the data type is wrong. So somehow we have to change the data type. So let's do it then. So let's change the data type before add column custom. So for those of you who didn't know, you could always insert a step. So over here, I just put my cursor over here. It's going to insert a step after this. So what I will do is click the data type. So this should be date. Insert. And what is this? This is a text. That's correct. So this should be decimal. Yeah. So traffic, this should be whole number. Yep. And what is this? This should be text. All right. So what about province? This should be text. Okay. So now this is the correct date format. Let's go to this. So this is working now. This is working. But once again, this data type needs to be corrected. Okay. So with that, I'm going to create another custom column. So this one is weekday number. Weekday number. Oops, number. So we have weekday, and this is weekday number. The question from Nick, from what I've read, restaurant financials are supposed to be compared in 2-week interval. Interesting. Instead of weekly or monthly interval, so you can do year-to-year comparison. Is there an easy way to do that? Oh, if we have time, I can touch that. We can certainly, most certainly, do year-over-year and months-over-month. Year-over-year is, same months this year versus last year. Months-over-month is this month versus previous month. We can even do more complex one, like year-to-date this year over year-to-date last year. Okay. All right. So this one, we'll need to start with date, because this is a transformation of date. So then you can do date or day of week. I think it's called day of, week. So you see the suggestion, day of week, and open bracket and double click day and close bracket. And there you go. So you have weekday number. So now for this 2 new custom columns, you can change the data type. So this should be whole number, and this is also a whole number. So guys, by now we have cleaned the data, and we can use this clean data to do any visualization, and we'll be able to answer the business questions. So is there any question from the audience so far? So otherwise, we could just go to home and click close and apply. And Power BI will note the clean data, clean and much smaller data set into Power BI desktop. All right, so this is the data. If you want to take a look at the data, you can go to data view. And you can see it, but you cannot manipulate it. If you want to change data, transform data, you have to go back to Power Query Editor. You see that I don't like this format. What you can do is you click and you can pick the format you want. I always like this one. All right, this is much easier. So let's go back. How do you build a dashboard? I always want to use a background. Not only, so this is the canvas. It's like a painter with a canvas. So if you click the grid line, you can do anything with it. So some of you have heard of Tableau, some of you have heard of Power BI. Now you're seeing Power BI. I'm not biased, but I heard people say, "Oh, Tableau is more beautiful, and Power BI, Power BI dashboard looks very ugly." And I tell you why. If you have used Tableau before, and every sheet, you can create only one visual. But Power BI, this is a blank sheet of paper. You can do anything with it. So there's so much more freedom that Power BI offers, but most people don't know how to handle that freedom. And then everything you put in there looks out of order. out of alignment, and then that's the reason why it look messy. So with Power BI, with visualization, it's always a good thing if you know a little bit of design. You know, you're technical, you know how to code, you know how to handle data, you know how to clean data, you know how to create a data model, but that's not enough. I think it's always better if the technical people can learn a little bit design. And if you produce something beautiful, more people will look at it. I heard this from one of the instructors. Doesn't matter how smart you are, but if your output looks ugly, nobody will even care. Nobody will look at it. So that's something I always encourage people to learn. It's not hard. Let me just show you what we can do with this. So you see, Mexican grill. Sorry, this is not Mexican grill, it's Mexican restaurant. Doesn't matter. I got this from internet, but you can just, you know, get a logo. You know, you can remove some of the color elements. In fact, what I encourage you to do is to standardize the color thing. Let me just show you something. What I meant. Okay. Maybe you want to note down this image color picker. So it's a image color picker. So if you upload your image, let's upload the logo. So this is the logo. All right. So then it will automatically recommend a palette. So it's multiple colors that you draw from this logo. And then you have this bunch, right? So it's always a good thing that you design this. Let's do that, you know, before we do anything else. So what you can do, so I already designed the background, but you should also standardize the color thing. So for instance, I actually use this greenish. Remember, Mexican flag is green and red, right? This is Mexican hat. So you have a green and red and yellow and orange, the multiple colors. So this background, I just use the green, you know. So what you can do when you save this, you can choose to save as, and then you can save as a PNG file. You see, you can save as a PNG, where is it? Yeah, PNG, okay. So I already have it, so I'm not going to do this. So let me show you this picture I create. So this is a PNG file. It just looks like what you see in PowerPoint. I wonder why it takes this long. Okay, so it's the same. So what you can do is you go inside the blank Power BI on this page. Let's say this is the dashboard. All right. So what you can do is you go below visualization. There's nothing over here. So you can import the background. So you can just click canvas background, and then you click browse. And then you can import this background. So the reason you don't see it is because the transparency is 100%. You just reduce it to 0, and then you see the background. And why we use background, and then you know where to put what. So we have multiple cards that you can put over here. Cards, card, card, card. And then you could put the visuals within this boundary, and then it will look more aligned, right? So now we can fix the color thing. What you can do is, you know, these are the bunch of themes you can use. So you can create your own. You can customize your current thing. Okay, so over here, usually you have 8 colors, and then this is sentiment color. So negative is red, and maybe positive is green. This is neutral, and you can leave them as is. But remember what we have seen. So this is a darker blue. I check and I click this. Oh, my computer start to go slow. And then you just paste the color over here. So this is the dark green. This is the second one. I'm going to click. So this is the red. All right, so let's replace this one. So this is the third one. And this is the orange. Right. All right, so this number 4. Number 4, this is the lighter, this is the yellow. All right. And number 5. I'm not going through all of them, so let me just do one more. And what else? Let's just capture a lighter green. There's so many colors you can choose. Let's do just 6 of them. All right, so now you can just apply. See, it's amazing. So if you click the color theme again, this is the new one. And you see this says custom. You know? And if you export the color theme, it's a JSON file. So if you work for this company, Mexican Grill, you can always make sure, you should always make sure the color theme is consistent. So you can export the color theme and you can import it to any other, Power BI work. Okay, so with that being said, what we need to do is, first of all, it's always important to create a measure table. So what you can do is you go to, oh, not this one, sorry, go to enter data. So this is not a real table. It's just a folder. So you click enter data. All right, so what you need to do is rename table as measure. All right, and just click load. Okay, it's thinking. I have a desktop, but I think it looks like it's going slow for some reason. All right, you should see a measure. It's not a real table. I will explain in a moment. So I use this to contain all the measures. So I like to create the measures for every single KPI. Even though you already have sales, I still want to create a measure for sales. So what I suggest you do is new measure. So you will see the formula over here. Just type, and if it's a dollar amount, you could always start with dollar. So this is sales, and you want to put sum around every measure. So this is sum, and just type sales. It will come up. So which one is this? Is this guy? All right. So then close it, and then click the check mark. So this is the first measure you create. After you create the first measure, you can delete this empty column. Just click the 3 dots, and then delete from model. All right, so let's create, how many more? Just give me 1 second. 3 more. So let's create the second measure. Instead of traffic, I really like to rename this as the number of orders. Oops, Let's follow the naming convention orders. So once again, what you can do is sum, put a sum around everyone. So this is traffic. So this guy, and let's click the check mark. So let's create the third measure, which is dollar amount sales per order. So let's type, this is still dollar amount sales per order. So I want to divide sales. So this is the measure. Divide the sales by orders, right? And click the check mark. And I want to create one more, the number of stores. So it's count distinct, the number of stores. So once again, this is number of stores. So how do we do this? You can just count distinct count or count distinct. Let me see, or distinct count. Count what? So now we have store. Yeah. So now we click the check mark. Do I have a question? What tool did you use to build the background? PowerPoint. PowerPoint. Can you send the data? Discord is not working. Can you send the two data files? Okay. Matt. Let me leave my email address with you. So if you send an email after this session, I will send you to the two exercise files, WeCloudData.com. Okay. So now we want to make sure the format is correct. So I always want to check this comma, and this is the whole number. Even whole number, I can have the thousand separator. So this one as well, I click this, and 0 decimal, and sales, and I will click this one, currency, and this is auto, and you just click up, and you will have 0 decimal, and sales per order, the same thing, click this guy. And if you're organized, if you do all this, this will make the visualization very easy. So now what we can do, let's create the 4 cards. So the first one is the number of stores. So where is the card? So this is the card. It's it says 1, 2, 3. Just click card, and then number of stores. You can check this, or you can bring this to the field. It's the same. All right. So let me just make this smaller and bring this over. I always suggest you know what you can do, just move this up a little bit, and then you can go to format, go to general, and go to effect, and just turn off the background. So now you see this is completely transparent. So let's make this a little taller. And what you can do is you can follow the color thing. You can go to work visual, the core value, and also the category label. So you can change this to something you like. I don't know. Let's pick the orange. So this one you can pick the orange. All right. So now it's done. So if you like this, then you can just create multiple copy of this. So what I want to show you is we don't have any filters. You can go to view, and if you click selection, and you will have this, the first one. This is the first card. So what you can do is you click this one, And now you Control C and Control V 1, 2, 3, 4 times. 1, 2, 3 times. Okay, so let's rename this. What is this? This is stores. Oh, hang on. The first one you create is at the bottom. So this one, actually, this one is the highest one is the closest to you. Okay, so this is the first one, stores. So let's make this. This is what. Let's make this sales, and let's make this orders, and let's make this sales per order. Okay. So let's just reorder them. This should be the first one, sales the second, and this is the third, and this is the last. So let's remove this. What you can do is, this is, wait a minute. Yeah, this one. Oh, you know what, doesn't matter. So I think it becomes quite messy. Let me just undo this. And let me just clear my thought. What I can do is, let's change the, so this is correct. This is wrong. I need to replace this with sales. So this becomes easy. So this one, replace stores with orders. Okay, so this is sales per order. All right. So you know what? This is sales per order. And what is this? Stores is where it should be. And so this is sales. This is orders. This is sales. What's easy is if you pick this first one, so you can doesn't matter these two, and the most important thing is make this the highest, and then if you select all 4 of them. So if you move this to the right, if you select all 4 of them, so select the first one and press Shift, select the last one. So now you go to Format and you click Align and align to the top. See, align to the top, and then you click Distribute horizontally. So then you got them aligned. It's pretty easy this way. So if you like to move them up a little bit, you select them all, and then you can move them up. Just okay. So now with this taken care, so let's create the first one. So if you remember, you probably don't remember. The first one is sales by store. Sales by store. So let's create a bar chart. So this is a bar chart. What you can do is make sure this bar chart fit the space. So let's do this. Sales by stores. So you click sales, and then you click. So these are the measures, and then you click store. So this is the dimension, right? And if you don't like this, you could always go to the format. So what is this? This is bar. So you can change this to the same thing. Let's change this to the same thing. And if you don't need these, because it's already mentioned here, if you don't need this title, you can always delete the title. Let's go to y-axis and turn off the title. Let's go to x-axis, and where's the title? Let's turn off the title. Or I need to expand it and turn off the title. All right. So if you want to, let's just leave it. And if you think, oh, this is too small, let's do something, let's get rid of the title over here. You know what? Never mind. We don't have enough time. Maybe let's center the title. So where's the title? And this is the title. So we can center the title over here. Okay. But once one of them is done, it's pretty easy for you to create the other ones. So you can just copy paste. So once this 4 cards is done, you can group them. Okay, my computer is going slow. Come on. Hey, come on. It's not responding. Okay, so select the first one, press Shift and select the last one, and right click and group them. So let's say that these are cards. Okay, so this is the first one. That's Control C, Control V. So this is the second one. So this one, I want to create. This should be orders by store. So it's orders by store. So if it's orders by store, I can just move it down. You see, it's pretty easy to replicate. You just need to replace sales with orders, and it's done. It's very easy. Okay, so the second chart we want to create is a line chart. It's orders by week and province. So what you can do, you can still use the same template. Just move it over here. It's pretty easy. It goes flat to the Greek system. You can just change type over here, pretty easy. But then it's what traffic by week. So this should be traffic, which is orders. And this is not store. And this should be week, right? So this is week. Hold on. So week, one of these should go to x-axis, right? For some reason, you see the last week is very low. That's because the last week doesn't have 7 days, right? So just so you know. And then if you want to see all the provinces, you can always bring the province to where? To legend. So there you go. So you have this. And if you want to create sales by week and province, you can do that too. So what you can do is Control C and Control V, right? So this is orders by week and province. And if you change this, you can only just replace this with sales. So it's done. It's pretty easy. Right. 2 more. So the last 2, we want to see the sales and traffic by weekday. Okay, so let's create a column chart. Once again, you could always start with this. Yeah, we have a snap over. So let's change to a column chart. Okay, this column chart, and then you can. So this is not store. This should be weekday, right? Weekday. And weekday, let's move it to x-axis. What is y-axis? This, let's just leave it as sales. But I want to show you something. You see, this doesn't follow the order of the weekday. So we expect to see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that. What you can do is you select weekday, and over here you can sort the column by.
you can sort that by weekday number. And this is something I think people overlook. So if you really want to sort a weekday, and you can create a weekday number. If you want to sort anything, you can create a table and you can number them in the way you want to sort it. So if I click this, and look, it doesn't change right away. That's because let's see the sort criteria. So it's sorting this by sales, you see, from the highest to the lowest. So let's switch to weekday. Now, once again, this is in reverse order. So let's click this one more time, sort access. So let's change it from sort descending to ascending. So now it's correct, right? Yeah. So if you want to create the same thing and instead of sales, you want to put orders, you can just put this down. That's pretty easy. And then all you need to do is replace this with orders. And so far, we haven't done anything with the sales per order except the card. In case that is, you find that is a very important KPI. And once again, you can rearrange all this and to make a new dashboard. So let me just save this for now. And you see, within 2 hours, not for the second case, we spent a little more than 1 hour, and you can already create a functional dashboard. So let's just spend a few minutes and let's pretend we're the first user of this dashboard. So first of all, you can just uncheck the grid line, and second, you can collapse selection, collapses, collapse. So now you see a functioning dashboard. So for instance, if you want to see a particular province, I can create a slicer, or you can use cross highlighting and cross filtering. So for instance, I want to see, what is it? I think Quebec and Alberta. So you can control and multi-select Quebec and Alberta. So so Quebec and Alberta will be highlighted, but this is not that obvious. And if you really want to show only 2 provinces, and there's a way for you to do that. Okay, so for instance, you can just add another slicer. If you put a slicer over here, and you can bring province over here. And if you like, you can change the format of this by clicking slicer setting, change vertical to horizontal. So if you squeeze this a little bit, and then you have 4 buttons like this. So if you only want to see Alberta and Quebec, you can control and multi-select. You see, now you only have 2, and you can compare the 2. It's pretty damn easy. It's very easy. And also, the stores only show the stores in these 2 provinces, right? So there are just many ways for you to, and plus all of these cards, they start showing only, Alberta and Quebec. So if I only want to see Ontario, so now everything is for Ontario. So if I click the 3 dots, I can remove this, right? See, everything goes back to normal, right? Okay, so if you receive the test from the employer like this, and if you clean the data, and there are just several things they want to test you on. Number one, they want to see your ETL capability. Can you work with messy data? Yes, you can. And you clean up the data, and now everything is ready to go. And then you can also impress the employer with your design, And like I said, PowerPoint, is that easy? It's pretty easy. So if you click this, if you click something like this, you will see This is a grading color. You just determine where you want to see the gradual change of color. So it looks more, it looks more than 2D, right? So coming back here. So this, I think, is a good piece of work. And if you can do both technical and design, and there's no mistake, and if you submit the test like this, chances are you will be able to impress the employer, and you will be called back to present the case to the interviewers. And if you know that is coming, and with WeCloudData, we can train you and we can teach you how to talk about your work. And it's one thing that you do good work, and it's quite another that you know how to talk about your work and impress the employer and change their mind and make them give you that opportunity to work for them, right? So one thing I want to mention is Power BI is still fairly new. You know, it was released by Microsoft in 2015, and this year, 2013, and if you do the math, it's only 8 years. And a lot more companies looking for, you know, Power BI developers who can use Power BI to develop BI service, BI dashboard, but not many people can do that. And it's not like Excel, it has been around for 40 years and Power BI is fairly new. And if you can develop the skills, you see, the skills that make you stand out, I think it's hard to learn by yourself. So that's why I highly recommend that you check out WeCloudData.com and the course offerings. You know, we provide all kinds of data track, including data science and data engineering and business intelligence. And business intelligence is just one way for you to answer the business question, solve the business problems, and support the business decision, and create value for the business and the customers. And imagine this, if your work is like this and highly visible, and you can make yourself visible. And I think everybody can understand, in each company and each department, the VPs and the directors, they would love to have a go-to person in their team, on their team. And whenever they need to communicate across and upwards, and they want to have something like this, right? So if you can do that, your work, your good work will connect you to the people with power, and it will connect you to the people with opportunity, right? So I personally feel very passionate about Power BI and what it is capable of doing. But once again, this is not just Power BI. And let's just talk about Microsoft ecosystem. So you can connect Power BI to SQL Server, and you can even connect Power BI to Azure, you know, SQL database. So if the data is massive and then you have learned how to work with big data on the cloud, and you can build the pipeline, and you can get data from everywhere, and you can clean it up, you can create a data model, you know, you have that capability to build a data cube. And then one thing I didn't really have time to mention it, DAX is data, DAX stands for data analysis expressions. So for the people who claim that they know how to use Power BI, if you ask them, you know, have you worked with DAX before? And you hear some people say, what's DAX? And then right away, you know that person doesn't really know Power BI. So DAX is extremely powerful. Remember what we said, what makes Power BI powerful? So Power Query Editor is one thing, the built-in ETL tool. And then data modeling is the second one. And the third one is DAX. So before I let you go, I still have 23 people with me, and I will very quickly and show you what you can do. Let me just show you a more complicated, use case. But our students are able to produce this. Imagine if you can do something like this, you will have no problem, convincing the employer that you're the right person that they should hire. Just give me 20 seconds to bring this up. And do you have any questions so far? So I'm about to impress you with this dashboard, and this is good work produced by our students. And once again, if you like what you see, and if you think this is cool, to answer your question there, yes, the recording is going to be posted on YouTube, I think, so you will be able to watch it. So if you like what you see over here, and this is all Power BI, right? And there's no secret, the background was created using PowerPoint, but it's pretty amazing, right? And if you see, this almost looks like an app. If you click this button, you will see all the filters hidden. And if you click any filter, so you see right now it's 2008. If I select 2009, and this will change. Oh, I think I select 2 years, and this will change. And if I select another product, this will also change. Computer is just going slow. You know what? Never mind. Come on. When I need you the most. All right, guys, do you have any question? Please chat. We're running over time, but maybe 2 minutes over time is okay with you? Thank you. Oh, I'm not able to close this. Okay, so my bad. I hope we'll have more sessions geared towards Power BI and what we are capable of doing, and I will show you more use cases in future. And trust me, like I said, so now we can do this. Let me just close this safely, and I want to show you. So we go to geo. This is the other dimension, geography. Is it geography? So if you click Asia, and this globe will revolve, and you will see. So if I click, it is Australia. Yeah. So you will see the tooltip. And if I click Asia again, I will come back. All right. So, and you can select different KPI. So let's go to product. And once again, it looks pretty cool. And there is a little bit of AI with decomposition. So Power BI is able to analyze what contribute the most to the KPI you select. So in this case, it's net sales. So you see, and this is the decomposition tree. And if you go to Pareto chart, and this is pretty powerful. So Pareto chart tells you, 20% of the product subcategory account for 80% of the sales. And you can select net sales, gross profit, and sales quantity. You can go up to product category level, and you can go down to product key. And this is also very cool. You can see the relationship, between different levels in the same hierarchy. And if I go to stores, it's just another dimension to see which store contribute the most to the sales or gross profit or quantity. If you go to manufacturing, and once again, you will see which vendors actually contribute to the most to sales, gross profit, and sales quantity. And if you follow the design, right, you always have the high level on the left-hand side and the deep dive in the middle, and then something else complementary. So we also have the 4 quadrant analysis, and we have the organic growth analysis, and we have another page dedicated to discount strategy if it is effective. And we have the details page, and you can so this entire report is totally configurable. So you can pick any dimensions and any measure, and you can select any of these filters, and this report will show what you want to see. Okay. Yeah. So if you really want to know how to produce this powerful dashboard, you can definitely come to me. And this probably will take you 2 weeks to complete. But once you finish, and you will feel a high sense of satisfaction, and you will feel proud, and you will feel confident, and you really, really want to get yourself in front of the employer and show them what you are capable of doing. Trust me, this work probably is more complex and more advanced than the quality of the work that in the hiring manager's team. So when he or she sees this, and trust me, he want to have you on board. Okay, so guys, thank you for your patience, and I hope you feel this is 2 hours well spent with me. And once again, I'm going to post the completed dashboard on Discord. And if you feel like having a conversation with me about your career paths, and if you feel like asking me any question, and I will give you my calendar, and you can click on it and you can book my time. Thank you so much, Sheila, for supporting this, and hope everyone will have a very pleasant weekend. Thank you.